fit and finish is off the scale. It's stunning. The challenge from China.
BYD is so much ahead of Tesla in China, it's almost ridiculous. You could understand why some people would 50 times earnings. At the current price of BYD stock, little BYD is worth more than the entire Mercedes Corporation. It's not a cheap stock. On the other hand, it's a very remarkable company.
Think about it. If you wanted to start a car company in China back in the 1980s, bad idea. The auto industry was basically a handful of outdated factories churning out cars that made golf carts look luxurious. But fast forward to today, and China is making enough cars to supply half the world. And leading the charge, BYD. This is a company that went from assembling batteries to reshaping the future of transportation. Electric cars, buses, solar panels, cutting-edge tech, BYD is in the middle of all of it. But with success comes competition. And let's be real, the auto industry is brutal. Over the years, BYD has faced relentless pressure, whether it's Elon Musk throwing shade,
Have you seen their car?
legacy automakers scrambling to catch up, or critics doubting they'd ever make it big. And now, with their eyes locked on the US market, the challenges are only getting tougher. But here's the thing, BYD wasn't always the powerhouse we know today. In fact, back in 1995, when it all started, they weren't even making cars. They were just another battery manufacturer trying to survive in an already crowded market. Then comes the plot twist. Wang Chuanfu, the mastermind behind BYD, saw an opportunity, a struggling state-owned defense company called Xianjinwan Automobile, and he thought, yeah, I can do better. So what did he do? He bought it. 269 million Hong Kong dollars later, he snagged a 77% stake and slapped a new name on it, BYD Auto. And let's be honest, shareholders weren't exactly thrilled. This move, not in the plan. But Wang wasn't just playing around. He had a vision, electric vehicles powered by BYD's battery expertise. Buying an almost dead car company wasn't the most obvious move, but it gave him exactly what he needed. A company with some automotive know-how, a golden ticket, an auto production license, which was nearly impossible to get, and a factory setup he could expand fast. And just like that, the foundation for BYD's automotive empire was set. Now, you'd think a new car company would start by making, decent cars, right? Well, BYD's first attempt, codenamed 316, was so hideous that dealers rejected it faster than a broken-down luxury car at a showroom. Wang Chuanfu, in his infinite wisdom, personally destroyed the prototype, if we're being honest. Smashed it into oblivion. Not the best look, but hey, at least they didn't have to embarrass themselves trying to sell it, because that thing in the market would be straight-up embarrassment. So they pivoted, and yeah, they did it fast. Enter the BYD F3 sedan, which, let's be honest, looked a lot like a Toyota Corolla, just at half the price. And guess what? It flew off the shelves. Over 63,000 units sold in the first year, and by month 20, they'd already cranked out the 100,000th one. So the silver lining in the mountain finally showed. But BYD didn't stop there. They rolled out the BYD F6, which looked like a knockoff Honda Accord, except it wasn't. And here's where things get spicy. BYD, early on, had a bit of a reputation. Let's just say they weren't shy about reverse engineering. They'd take Japanese cars, mostly Toyota models, tweak them just enough, and boom, new BYD original. The F3, pretty much a Corolla clone. The F0, basically a Toyota iGo, just with a little more Chinese flavor. Did they get flack for it? Oh, absolutely. Even US officials raised eyebrows, warning that BYD was playing a little too fast and loose with their designs. But Wang Chuanfu, he didn't care. As he saw it, they were only using non-patented tech, which meant what? Fair game. But by 2006, BYD wasn't just messing around with EVs, they were all in. They launched the Electric Vehicle Research Institute with one goal: make BYD the name in new energy vehicles and make it good. They weren't just building electric cars, they were creating an entire EV ecosystem, from battery-powered cars to plug-in hybrids. BYD wasn't just looking to play the game, they wanted to run the show and run it for a long, long time. And what about Wang? Well, he wasn't afraid to say it. He laid out a bold plan. BYD would dominate China's auto market by 2015 and the world by 2025. Very ambitious? Definitely. Unrealistic? Not if you asked Wang. Huang, the guy got balls. He saw electric vehicles as the golden ticket, a way to skip past the traditional gas-powered industry and jump straight into global dominance, because we all know the fuel is going to run out someday. Then came March 2008, and BYD, they threw down the gauntlet at the Geneva Motor Show. Enter the F3DM, the world's first production plug-in hybrid, a game changer. At first, it was meant for institutional buyers, but by 2010, BYD opened up retail sales, right when the Chinese government started handing out subsidies like candy. But here's the twist: the F3DM flopped, and the sales, just a few hundred units, and that was pretty much it. Wouldn't that break a man's strength? Would definitely kill mine. But they didn't stop. In January 2009, BYD took another shot, this time at the North American International Auto Show. They introduced the E6, their first all-electric production car, boasting a 400-kilometer range. It was supposed to go mainstream in the US, but just like the F3DM, it never really took off. Instead, BYD pivoted, fleet vehicles only. Regular consumers were, let's say, out of luck. But here's what mattered: BYD Auto wasn't just a side project anymore. It was the moneymaker in the long run, and every big corporation has to have setbacks. By mid-2009, BYD Auto was raking in 55% of BYD's total revenue. They were no longer just in the game, they were playing to win. Manufacturing plants? Check. Opened in Xi'an and Shenzhen. R&D centers? Check. Expanding. Production capacity? Check. Skyrocketing. Everything looked unstoppable. But then, it all got too big, too fast. BYD went on a dealership opening spree. More showrooms, more expansion. Except there was a problem. Now there were too many dealerships, not enough solid models, and focus on volume over quality, and it started to hurt the brand. By 2010, dealerships in major cities were pulling out faster than a bad investment. With all the checks also came the reality check. BYD was running before it could walk. Now their production target was 800,000 cars, and their actual number was just 517,000. Not even close. But instead of panicking, BYD did something smart. They stepped back. They shifted focus from sheer production volume to quality, strengthened dealer networks, and most importantly, invested in brand promotion. So it was a setback, a big one for sure, but for BYD, just a speed bump on the road to global domination. Because while they were fine-tuning their car strategy, they had another trick up their sleeve: electric buses. Their first big move was an amazing pilot project with the Hunan government to roll out 1,000 electric K9 buses. And just like that, BYD was about to take over yet another market. And who was to stop them? No one. These buses weren't just eco-friendly, they could go up to 305 kilometers on a single charge. And with fast charging, they were ready to roll in half the time it takes to binge-watch your favorite show. By 2010, things were getting serious. BYD, the Chinese automaker backed by Warren Buffett, was teaming up with Daimler to develop an electric car for the Chinese market. The result was a joint venture that launched the Denza brand, focused on new energy vehicles. The first Denza concept car was revealed in 2012, and while Mercedes-Benz eventually pulled out of the partnership in 2024, BYD kept the ball rolling. No biggie, just another twist in the story. Speaking of twists, BYD launched the Dynasty series in 2013, led by the BYD Chin, a plug-in hybrid. And it didn't just sell, it dominated. By early 2014, the Chin became the best seller in its category, proving that BYD wasn't just chasing electric dreams, they were making them real. But here's the catch: government subsidies had been fueling their success, and in some ways, they were a crutch. In 2016, BYD pulled in $1 billion in new energy vehicle subsidies, more than their net profit for the entire year. Then came 2017, and the free ride was over. The Chinese government started pulling back on subsidies, and BYD felt it was hard. Sales slowed, profits dropped, and by 2019, Wang Chuanfu's mindset had shifted from world domination to let's just survive. A tough reality check, no doubt, but BYD wasn't done yet. They'd been knocked down, sure, but they were still in the ring, waiting for the next round. By 2019, they were facing slumping sales, a slowing market, and fewer government handouts. It was survival mode, but instead of throwing in the towel, they got strategic. Then came 2020, and this wasn't just luck. This was BYD turning the tide like a boxer getting back on their feet after a brutal punch. In the years that followed, they went from barely hanging on to leading the electric vehicle market. The secret was a mix of aggressive innovation, smart investments, and pinpoint market timing. First, they doubled doubled down on electric vehicles, right when consumers started really buying into the whole green, sustainable future. And it wasn't just BYD making moves, the entire industry was shifting. Suddenly, BYD wasn't the underdog anymore. They were on a meteoric rise, transforming from a struggling player into a global powerhouse. And the growth was staggering, almost like they had just unlocked the key to winning the game. From 2020 to 2023, BYD went from selling a modest 427,000 vehicles to a staggering 3 million units, a seven-fold explosion. By 2023, they had left most competitors in the dust, fueled by skyrocketing demand for new energy vehicles. Just look at the numbers. In China, EVs made up 27.5% of total vehicle sales in 2022, up from just 5.8% in 2020. The electric revolution was in full swing, and BYD, they were leading the charge. Meanwhile, Tesla, they were left wondering what just happened, especially considering that just a few years ago, Elon Musk was straight up laughing at the idea of BYD as a competitor. Why do you laugh? Is BYD trying to compete? Why do you laugh? I have seen their car. Yes, Elon saw their car, and by 2023, BYD had flipped the script, becoming a legit global powerhouse. And then, to make it official, BYD ditched internal combustion engines altogether. No more gas guzzlers, no more petrol engines, just a full-throttle commitment to new energy vehicles. This wasn't just a business move, this was a declaration of war. By 2023, BYD hit another massive milestone, its 6 millionth new energy vehicle. The rest of the auto industry, they could only watch. But here's the thing, BYD wasn't forgetting its roots. In April 2023, they launched the Seagull, their smallest and cheapest battery electric vehicle, priced at just $12,200. And guess what? It was an instant hit. By November 2023, just 7 months later, BYD had already sold 200,000 Seagulls. Proof that electric cars didn't have to be expensive to be cool. At this point, BYD was gearing up for global domination. Even industry insiders saw what was coming. Sam Farani, a VP at Auto for Car Solutions near Philadelphia, made it crystal clear. Any car company that's not paying attention to them as a competitor is going to be lost when they hit the car market. And let's be real, BYD's entry into the US market isn't an if, it's a when. Oh, and just to flex even harder, BYD expanded its empire again, acquiring Yon PNC Insurance Company Limited. Yep, they now own their own insurance company, because if you're taking over the car industry, you might as well insure your own cars too. A genius move, especially when EVs are battling high premiums and profitability issues. BYD wasn't just making electric cars anymore, they were building an empire. By June 2024, BYD had launched its insurance services across 7 major Chinese provinces, proving they weren't just making cars, they were taking over every angle of the market. And if you thought they were done breaking records, think again. In August 2023, BYD hit yet another milestone, rolling out its 5 millionth new energy vehicle. To mark the occasion, Wang Chuanfu called for unity among Chinese car manufacturers, urging them to team up against foreign automakers. It was a bold move, one that only someone with huge ambitions would dare make. Fast forward to January 2024, and BYD wasn't just dominating the roads, it was taking to the seas. They launched their very first roll-on roll-off cargo ship, the BYD Explorer No. 1. At 200 meters long, this beast was built to ship vehicles overseas, mainly to Europe, as BYD went full throttle on exports. Then, in November 2024, BYD marked its 30th anniversary with a massive flex, the production of its 10 millionth new energy vehicle. That's right, the first automaker ever to hit that milestone. Wang Chuanfu took the stage to reflect on BYD's journey, from a tiny 20-person startup to a global giant with nearly 1 million employees. But here's the thing, BYD's success isn't just about jaw-dropping numbers, it's about reshaping the entire EV industry, proving that electric cars aren't just a trend, they're the future. Speaking of the future, what's next for EVs? Well, it's not all smooth sailing. In the US, electric vehicles aren't just battling Chinese competition, they're also up against one big issue: cost. Sure, EVs are sleek, futuristic, and eco-friendly, but let's be real, gas-powered cars are still cheaper up front, and for a lot of buyers, that matters more than anything else. Gas prices might be painful, but sticker shock, that's a whole different kind of hurt. But don't count EVs out just yet. The materials that power them, nickel, lithium, and cobalt, are getting cheaper to mine. And according to a March 2024 2024 Goldman Sachs report, battery packs, which currently make up 30% of an EV's cost, could drop to 15 to 20% by 2030. Translation was, EVs are about to get a lot cheaper. And this isn't just happening in the US, Europe, or China. EV fever is going global. Take India, for example. Between April 2023 and March 2024, India's EV market exploded by 91% year over year, selling 1.5 million cars. That might not sound like much compared to the US's 1.8 million or China's 8 million, but the trajectory is what's turning heads. And India isn't just making EVs, they're exporting them too. Stellantis recently started shipping Citroën EC3 models from India to Indonesia with an initial batch of 500 vehicles. Sure, that's tiny compared to BYD's 10 million, but it's proof that India is no longer a bystander in the EV race. So what does all this mean? It means the EV story is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started. As prices drop and production skyrockets, this isn't just a battle over who sells the most cars, it's about who rewrites the rules of the entire auto industry. And, judging by how things are going, BYD and the rest of the world's EV giants are only warming up.